Mandela, thank you so much for being with us. This is a very, very busy time for you and a very busy day, an unprecedented election. Who could have ever imagined this? What were your thoughts? Let's take you back to yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday I was very frustrated. Woke up equally frustrated because this is an election that shouldn't have taken place today. The election should have absolutely been delayed because we are putting I shouldn't say we are, people's health and safety is being jeopardized in carrying out this election. And so many people know it. That's why you see the distance between people who are in line. You see people with protective masks on. Even the Speaker of the Assembly, who said it was safe, showed up in basically a full body mask is what it looked like. And that speaks to the reality that we're in and the reality that we should not have to face when people are trying to exercise their right to vote.
I saw long lines today, too, some 2.5-hour waits, particularly at sites. We're down to 5. Do you think that people will fight to vote? They would have stuck around to vote, and they still will into the evening?
People have. I mean, that's the reason, folks are waiting in line for 2+ hours. I've been following this thing along online, seeing what people had to say and what people are experiencing. People are fighting. When I mentioned that, folks fought and died for the right to vote, and people are literally putting their lives at risk to cast a ballot. And that's not a sacrifice folks should have to make at this day and age. It's totally unnecessary. There are ways around this. This election could have been administered differently. People could have had ballots mailed to their homes. We have the capability to do so. We don't necessarily have the capacity to do so, but the capability is there. It's a total misstep and a failure on behalf of those legislators who sought to block the delay of this election, or the ones who blocked an alternate means for this election to be carried out.
What about those absentee ballots? We talked to a gentleman tonight during one of our newscasts who said he opened up his envelope and there was no ballot in there. In addition to that, there are a lot of ballots that were never received by people who probably filled out those online forms. They didn't get them. What do you say to them? They feel hopeless and helpless.
Yeah, and as I said before, I don't even place this on the election commission or clerks. The fact is, like I said, while we have the ability to do so, the capacity isn't there. There's an influx of people who requested an absentee ballot, given the severity of the COVID-19 situation that we're dealing with. And you have to assume that things like that are going to happen, where somebody may not get a ballot every once in every 1,000 or so ballots that were mailed out. People were waiting over 10. I think it took me about 10 days to get my ballot. So there is a real concern there in the fact that people are being asked to have those ballots in by today. If you didn't receive it yet, they're asking people to go in and vote in person. Just speaks to just a very scary situation that we shouldn't have to find ourselves in.
What does this say to the disenfranchised voter, to the members of the minority communities, to the African American voter and Hispanic Latino voters, in your opinion?
Well, this continues along a long trend of voters being disenfranchised in the state. This is another way to keep people home. It's unfortunate, and also you see the rate of outbreaks, and you see the mortality rate that is much more prevalent in the north side of Milwaukee. In Milwaukee alone, I want to say, at least as of yesterday, 40 out of the 77 deaths were in Milwaukee. And we're up to about 90 something now. I have to go back and look at the exact Milwaukee number, but still, even if the number stayed the same, 40 out of 90, that's a significant chunk of the population. That shows a disproportionate rate of folks in Milwaukee are being impacted. And if these are people who are still being asked to vote, and you look at the number of outbreaks and just population alone, that large concentration of people who want to exercise their right to vote could create a hotbed.
Mm-hmm. 2 more questions. Do you think anything could have been done differently to prevent this?
Oh, everything could have been done differently. The Speaker of the Assembly, Robin Vos, and the Senate Majority Leader Fitzgerald, they didn't have to go to the Supreme Court to challenge this. They could have negotiated in good faith and came up with a solution to make sure that people's safety came first, and then to also make sure that people could exercise their right, make sure that democracy could be realized by everybody here in the state of Wisconsin.
I talked to a political analyst today. He said that this may energize people to go out and vote in November, because perhaps those people who didn't get heard today will just feel that vim and vigor, if you will. Do you think that will do that to maybe the even undecided voter?
I mean, that's possible, but I always say every election is the most important election. So obviously, November has the president on the ballot, but there were important elections that took place today. Statewide, we had the Supreme Court race in Milwaukee County. We had races for county executive and for mayor, and those were important races also. It shouldn't take someone missing an opportunity to cast a ballot for those important races for the people who are going to impact their daily lives. To have them forego that opportunity to save that energy for November. Like, yes, of course, I want people to be energized for November regardless, but not at this cost.
Okay. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, I know you're so busy. We appreciate you joining us here on this very, very important evening, one that will certainly go on in the history books, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet.